Humane Wildlife Solutions, and today I'm going to be talking about squirrels. I decided to do a general video about squirrels because I found an old family video that I wanted to include in one of our videos, but it didn't really cover any specific issues and it was just kind of general. So then I thought I could talk about the conflicts between reds and greys because that is very often spoken about, and then answer any specific questions that anyone has, and Kevin and I could cover those in the future. I could see if anyone had feedback from me and Kevin, and then we could answer specific questions maybe about our work or more in-depth issues that are covered in this video.
The old video I have, as you can see here, is of a squirrel nest my family found when I was younger, which had fallen out of a tree. I think a lot of people haven't seen baby squirrels, and I certainly hadn't at the time.
I also think the discussion is really relevant at the moment, what with the Wildlife Trust asking people to kill greys in a bid to save reds. So originally, while this video is going to contain a wide range of topics, such as grey and red morphology, behaviours, greys' effects on birds and trees, it's become more of a grey-red squirrel discussion and debate. But as I said, this is a really relevant discussion to be having at the moment, and we'll definitely be covering the things I just mentioned in the future.
So as you'll probably know, there are very different opinions generally of red versus grey squirrels. Red squirrels are popular and were actually voted Scotland's second favourite animal in 2013, whereas grey squirrels tend to be demonised and blamed for the decline in red squirrel numbers. A lot of people who love reds and want them to be protected actually advocate for the killing of greys, despite them being at no fault and simply trying to live their lives. The Wildlife Trust has been in the news lately after calling for volunteers to help red squirrels by bludgeoning greys to death. Not only is this cruel to the squirrels, who are just trying to survive, but asking people who have no training and potentially no interest in the welfare of the animal to beat them to death is sure to result in untold suffering and slow, painful death for the squirrels. For a Wildlife Trust to be asking people to do this is, in our opinion, ridiculous and irresponsible. The unpopular view of greys is widespread, and in fact it is law that if you catch a grey squirrel you have to kill them or allow someone else to do so for you. You cannot legally let them go. This is why in the work we do, we never catch greys and instead look at deterring them from the area that people are finding problems with them, often in roof spaces, and stopping them from getting back in. There are many problems with culling greys, such as reduced numbers meaning lower levels of interspecific competition and higher levels of movement, which may in fact make disease spread worse. It also means that parents may be killed, leaving kits to starve to death. There are many points to make, and we'll cover the problems with culling greys more specifically in a future video. However, this problem is in no way simply a red versus grey problem. As usual when it comes to some large wildlife problem, humans are at fault in many ways. This is because hunting of red squirrels over the last couple of hundred years has been popular, with one hunting club killing 7,000 red squirrels in one season and 80,000 in 30 years. Furthermore, decline in pine forest habitats is causing a decrease in red squirrel numbers, who prefer pine or mixed woodland, while greys thrive in a deciduous forest. This is why reds are more commonly seen in the north of Scotland. While reds can survive in deciduous forests, greys do outcompete them due to being better adapted, but this is no reason to vilify greys who are just surviving as any animal tries to. If you destroy enough of an animal's habitat, this close competition can occur between many similar species, and the same may have occurred if it were deciduous forests that run the decline, and greys having to attempt to live in pine forests. One popular type of woodland for reds, composed of European larch, actually decreased in cover by around 40% in both Scotland and England between 1980 and 1998. As is mentioned in the article you're looking at now, red squirrels have been found to actually be breeding in a natural immunity to the parapox or squirrelpox virus. It makes sense that when a large population exists, many may be susceptible to disease, but because of genetic diversity, some may be able to survive. This is what happened to grey squirrels, allowing them to be resistant to the virus, and just carriers. The problem is that with so few reds to begin with, due to all the hunting, they lack the diversity they would have had a few centuries ago, meaning that while evidence has been found that some are now immune, this is having a much larger problem than it may have done if they hadn't been so heavily persecuted in the first place. In 1844, their decline due to persecution by gamekeepers caused some red squirrels to be reintroduced by humans to the Highlands. It's possible that these introduced squirrels lack the natural immunity that most red squirrels may have had back then, so if this is the case, then again, this is a human error. This reintroduction was before they thrived in numbers again, resulting in their extensive persecution and people being paid to send red squirrel tails to a Highland hunting club. Between 1900 and 1920, red squirrels were found to have a virus with symptoms that look remarkably similar to squirrelpox, and it was found that many districts with reds showing these symptoms in them had had no grey squirrels enter them. The article that you can see on screen now is actually one that I did the research for and told the papers about after I found a study done in Edinburgh conducted in part by the universities of Edinburgh and Glasgow, where they actually took 3 captive bred red squirrels and inflicted them with squirrelpox virus to look at the results. They allowed the squirrels to die 17 days after infliction of the virus, and when questioned they failed to say whether they had conducted other similar experiments on reds. Some pro-Reds might say that in order to establish a vaccine, this is perhaps a necessary evil, but I would disagree at the cost of 3 or more red squirrels which will have suffered in order for the study to be carried out, as it is said that this is an extremely uncomfortable and painful virus, which is believable considering it causes an eruption of lesions all over the body. Also, the results of this study said that further tests would be needed, probably meaning more squirrels used. It seems to make more sense to focus on the reasons why red squirrel decline became an issue in the first place, and working to solve these problems, rather than trying to come up with a cure, which will mean going through more squirrels. And while a vaccine would be helpful, I don't feel it's worth the cost of multiple red or grey squirrels' lives and or suffering. A natural immunity would mean that future generations of reds are protected genetically, and separate coniferous habitats would make them safer and less likely to come into contact with the virus from greys in the first place. Also, it suggested that with ample supply of food and habitat, some reds can survive squirrel pox naturally. One squirrel held in captivity was able to survive the virus over 6 weeks before being recovered and well enough to be released, and picked up again as being alive and well on 2 further occasions, and 8 have been confirmed to have recovered naturally in the wild. In one sampling area, researchers found antibodies that suggested that just under 10% of reds in the area had survived squirrel pox in the past. That's all I'll be covering in this video. I have so much more that I could say, but I feel like if I include everything, this video could go on forever, so I hope you've enjoyed what I have included, and maybe it's made you think a little. If you want to find out more, check out the references I've listed below, which will show some really interesting articles, facts, and figures about squirrels and the issues surrounding them. One website, greysquirrel.org.uk, I particularly recommend, as it covers grey squirrel issues, including complaints of tree damage and effects on birds. It explains more about the powerpox virus and the problems with culling greys. They also have a Facebook page called Stop Culling Grey Squirrels, so check them out. It's definitely a website that I'll be looking at in the future to come up with more video ideas, as like I said, there's so much more that can be covered. I really wanted to talk about pine martens in this video and opinions on introducing them to reduce the number of greys, but as I had to cut out some of what I wanted to talk about, I think I'll try and bring this up in another video sometime in the future. Lastly, and very importantly, you can see the link to a petition urging the Wildlife Trust to stop culling greys in the video description. This petition will probably be closed soon, so if you're watching this a few months after this video is posted, the link will probably be inactive by now. But please do try it, just in case you're able to offer your signature in support of the greys. Feel free to subscribe to our channel, check out our website and Facebook page, which are linked to in the comments, and check out our shop. See you soon, and please ask any questions you have in the comment section, and we may address them in future videos.